bending, broken rule. Hound dog howling, bullfrog croaking. Everything is broken.
Hi, and welcome to another edition of Dad's Divorce Live. I'm Matt Allen, editor of DadsDivorce.com. Today we have a special edition of the show for the stepmothers out there in our viewing audience. We get a lot of stepmoms who come to the site looking for information and resources, either for themselves or for their husbands. And today we're going to be talking with author Rachelle Katz, who is a psychotherapist and a stepmother as well, who has written a new book called The Happy Stepmother. Stay sane, empower yourself, and thrive in the new family. So, Rachelle, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, Matt, for having me.
Now, in your book, you offer the 10 steps to thrive despite the frustrations that come with motherhood. So I want to know, what is so frustrating about being a stepmother that compelled you to write this book?
Well, I think a lot of stepmothers feel disempowered. They marry men with children with the best of intentions to love these children and to have a wonderful family. And I think they expect, and their husbands expect them to do a lot of the maternal caretaking for their stepchildren, except they don't have any power to really have input in decision-making, in discipline, not that they should actually, but they feel that they're expected to do all of the work and yet have no say in how money is spent in the family, how when things are chosen to be done. So they feel very, very, they have a lack of control. And I think that probably is one of the most frustrating things for them. It's almost as though once they become members of a stepfamily, stepmothers lose their voice. And these generally are women who have high self-esteem, have achieved a lot in their life, and they're accustomed to being respected and listened to, and suddenly in this stepfamily, they actually are without a voice. So I think that's one of the main frustrations they experience.
Reading through the book, you mentioned the word forgotten a lot. You feel they're forgotten because they've lost their voice, or I guess what do you mean by that?
Well, I think everyone knows that divorce is traumatic for the children and basically for the ex-partners. And most of the attention is given to children to help them cope with the trauma. But no one realizes or really cares that stepmothers also are suffering and are, I think, mostly victims of some of the problems of their partner's divorce.
Right.
So that's how I think they're forgotten. And I think there's a cultural stereotype that still persists that stepmothers are wicked and evil, they're homewreckers, and that they deserve whatever poor treatment they get. And in fact, I conducted this online survey of 3,000 stepmothers,
right,
and very few had any responsibility for their partner's divorce. Most met their partners years after the divorce. Mm-hmm. So in fact, they're not homewreckers, and they're not evil and wicked. They're quite the opposite. They're loving and kind and really considerate to their stepchildren, yet I think this cultural stigma persists that really states stepmothers don't need any help because they made their beds and now they have to lie in them.
Right. Well, how do we get beyond that stigma?
Well, I believe that stepmothers are also part of culture and share that stigma. And one of the things I think they do once they get married is they try to prove to everyone that they're not evil and wicked. And what they end up doing is too much work in the family, trying too hard to fix everything in this step family. And by over-functioning, I think they really get exhausted and frustrated and resentful. No one actually appreciates what they're doing or acknowledges what they're doing. So one thing I suggest to stepmothers is that they examine if the cultural stereotype, if they buy into this cultural stereotype, and if they do, to really work on overcoming it.
You mentioned the online questionnaire that you had stepmothers go to your website and fill out. It's called stepmothers.com, where our viewers can go there and find out more information about the book and you. During your research, what did you find were some of the most common problems stepmothers deal with? And also, what did you find that maybe surprised you in how prevalent some of these problems are?
Well, the first thing that shocked me was how many women responded to my questionnaire. In 2 years, there were 3,000 women who responded, and it was 120 questions and 4 essay questions in this questionnaire. So it took 20 to 30 minutes to fill out, and I was shocked that so many women did that. And so I guess that was, I had a sense that there were a lot of stepmothers who were suffering, and that confirmed it. I think, what do stepmothers experience? I think many of them feel like outsiders in their stepfamily, even though they have been married for 20 or 30 years to their husbands. So I think that's something that, and they feel very alone. And one of my recommendations in my book, and what I tried to accomplish on the website, was to give stepmothers a sense of community, that they in fact did belong, maybe if they didn't feel they belonged to their stepfamilies, that there were other women who could support and acknowledge them.
And in your book, you have these excerpts and pull quotes, sort of real life examples from stepmothers. Was that called from the online community you set up?
Yes, mostly it comes from the online chat room. I changed the identifying features to protect the stepmothers who wrote it.
Sure.
And sometimes I kind of abbreviated what they said just for the sake of keeping it simple.
Right.
But yes, that's where I got most of the quotes.
Great. Well, Rachelle, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you very, very much, Matt, for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
And that'll do it for this edition of Dad's Divorce Live. If you'd like to find out more information about Rachelle Katz and her book, The Happy Stepmother, you can visit her website, stepsforstepmothers.com. That'll do it again for this edition of Dad's Divorce Live. I'm Matt Allen, editor of DadsDivorce.com. We'll see you next time.
Broken pipe, broken tube. People bending, broken